For the past 11 months, all of us have become much more health conscious. We do all that we can to remain healthy and to avoid being infected with COVID-19. We maintain social distance. We wash our hands and sanitize surfaces. We wear our face masks. We stay away from crowds and limit our social gatherings. We work from home when it's possible. In addition, we also now keep checking more on our personal health. We check to see if we have any symptoms that might indicate that we're infected. Things like a cough or body aches, or losing our sense of taste or sense of smell. We also employ different gadgets to help us evaluate our health. We use thermometers to test for fever. We use the little sensors on our fingers to check our heart rate and blood oxygen levels. We use blood pressure cuffs to see if we have high or low blood pressure. We use scales to see if our weight is fluctuating. By doing those things and using those gadgets, we're getting an idea of how healthy we really are. Checking on our spiritual health isn't quite so easy. There aren't any thermometers that can reveal if we have a warm or a cold heart for God. We can measure the oxygen in our blood, but there's nothing that can tell us the level of holiness in our lives. There's nothing like a blood pressure monitor that can indicate how much influence evil has on our decisions. And there aren't any scales that can tell us if we're weighed down by selfishness and sin. Rather, checking the status of our spiritual health requires that we make a personal examination of our lives. And that's what Lent is all about. That's what Lent is for. It's the time in the church's calendar for a spiritual wellness check. We often think of Lent as being connected with doing penance and giving up certain things, certain activities, maybe saying extra prayers and so on. And those are certainly wonderful practices. But Lent should also be a time of reflection, a time for us to take a good look at our lives, to take a look at our spiritual health. When Sunday's Gospel tells us that the Spirit drove Jesus out into the desert where he remained for 40 days, he didn't go to the desert to do penance. He didn't have any sin. But in the desert, Jesus rejected all of the temptations to be unfaithful to what God the Father expected of him. He reflected on his life as a child of God, on his coming ministry, and on what God wanted him to do. Our Lenten self-examination of our spiritual health might include similar questions. Am I closer to God this Lent than I was last year? Or does God have a lesser role in my thoughts and decisions now? Am I living as the child of God and faithful member of the church that I promised to be when I renewed my baptism promises last Easter? How many minutes a week am I giving to prayer, to Mass, to reading Scripture, to the things of God, compared to the hours that I give to Netflix and video games and social media? How much of my money goes to satisfying my needs and to collecting stuff that I really don't need? And how much money of mine goes into the collection basket and in serving the poor? Do I allow the sinful and immoral behaviors endorsed by society to infect my mind and to influence my decisions and my behavior? During these months of the coronavirus pandemic, we have all learned the importance of checking our physical health. This Lent, may we better appreciate the importance of evaluating our spiritual health. For as Jesus tells us, only the spiritually healthy will see God. As Jesus put it in the Beatitudes, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.